Greetings, everybody. Once again, welcome to the Panelcast. This is Richard from KS Collectibles and my lovely host here, AJ of Forbidden Panel.
Hi, everybody. Before we go, I got to start off again. T-shirt time. This T-shirt is from KS Collectibles. Not KS Collectibles. You make shirts?
No.
See?
Well, just the ones with the pictures of me.
Right. This is from T-Villain. 99% of the shirts I own, which means I have 99 T-shirts, are from T-Villain. They're awesome. Go check them out.
I have a Macho Man shirt. Pro Wrestling Tee said, "Why would you think my nipple's over here?" Anyway.
I was trying to roll up your armpit hair.
I don't. That's weird. So, busy weekend this weekend. And we're going to do something that we tend to do here and there, now and then, when there are big events. We are going to talk wrestling. Everybody on the internet is talking wrestling. Everybody's been talking Wrestlemania all over the place. But we're going to cover multiple things, not just Wrestlemania, not just WWE, not just AEW. So.
This has been a big weekend for wrestling, just all over the place. WWE put on their biggest event, their flagship event, WrestleMania 40 this weekend. And so because of that, all the other companies out there decided to put on their pay-per-view events as well to give you an option as to what you want to watch. For those of you who can't afford the Peacock service or the pay-per-view of WrestleMania and want to watch something else, they give you the options to do so by watching, I don't want to say lower companies, but just different.
It's different. It's a different style, different, like, everything about it. Like, I love wrestling in general. It really doesn't matter what it is. If it's wrestling, I'll give it a chance. I watch pretty much everything out there. I've been watching, I used to watch tapes back in the day. I grew up when the territories were still around. My grandmother used to take me to the old Olympic in LA to watch wrestling. I mean, one of the first matches I remember was Roddy Piper versus Hector Guerrero. So, I mean, it pretty much we just consume, or at least I just consumed anything wrestling, not just major promotions. I like independence. I like the major promotions. I'm not one to sit there and pick things apart. As far as complain about one company over the other. I just enjoy wrestling, and I think more people should.
I enjoy wrestling, a lot of wrestling as well. Wrestling got to me through a lot of hard times as a kid. Coming up, I remember staying up late. Me and my dad would stay up after Saturday Night Live to watch the Saturday Night's Main Event whenever it would come on, which was like 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday nights, and try to catch whatever we could. Back then, it was just hard to watch WWE events, but then WCW went ahead and took over TBS, would come on Saturday mornings and Saturday afternoons on TBS and stuff, and I'd watch those shows all the time as much as I could. So yeah, I've been a big fan of wrestling for a very long time, and I'll watch as much as I can until I can't anymore. There's a limit I can handle on a weekend. This weekend pushed my limit.
This weekend pushed a lot of people.
Because it was like, I put in a 40-hour work week in 3 days of watching wrestling. But luckily, I have a cool wife, and she understood that and kept me fed throughout the entire weekend. So.
Yeah, so there was a lot of wrestling to consume. Actually, if you were in the area in Philadelphia, it's amazing. Like, I know, like when they have it in LA or when it's local, there's so many shows out there that you can see so many different things. There's WrestleCon, there's independent shows all over the areas that happen right along with WrestleMania. So
yeah, normally they have conventions and whatnot because so many wrestling stars are in the area. They want to be able to give you a chance to come over and meet and greet, get signatures, autographs, and whatnot. Even though WrestleMania has Wrestle Weekend, I think it's called, or WWE.
It's what is it called now? It's called WWE World now.
Yeah, and so you can go meet all the WWE stars there, but for more independent stars and whatnot, they're at surrounding events, at wrestle conventions and whatnot, so you can go and meet them as well before seeing them perform in their own pay-per-views being held around Philadelphia area.
Yeah. So, to kick it off, the first thing we wanted to talk about, we're just going to get the emotional, the mushy stuff out of the way first. Let's talk about the Hall of Fame.
Ooh. And they got the emotion out right away with that first inductee.
Yeah, Paul Heyman was. I mean, I've been a Paul Heyman fan. I mean, as I'm sure many people have. Most people, a lot of people out there, especially people our age, love ECW and really. I was a Paul Heyman fan back in the day. I was a real big fan of the Dangerous Alliance. I was a huge Rick Rude fan. I've always been a Rick Rude fan. So when they brought together the Dangerous Alliance and it was supposed to be as like Rick Rude as the big star of it, and then they brought everybody else. And then I was a huge Austin fan. I was a big Austin fan when he was in Texas. So I was a huge fan of the Dangerous Alliance, and then all the years through everything Heyman's done, the man's a genius. Like there's no getting around it. And man, he did get the emotions flowing.
Ooh, and he did not hold back. That the sensor was on that button. He's just like, oh nope. Which
oh
is damn, I missed that one.
Here's my thing. I pay for Peacock.
Right.
Why am I getting that censored?
Right. It doesn't make any sense.
I understand censoring it when they're showing it on television and stuff, but like I pay for Peacock.
I pay for the curse words.
Yeah, I don't.
Give me the raw emotions. Give me the real stuff, because that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to see. That's why I'm giving you the money. I want to see the blood. Don't black and white it.
Right.
Don't obscure the camera, move the camera away. I want to see the full everything. That's why I pay the money for it.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that really kind of I was like, well, I don't understand if I'm paying for a premium service. I don't understand censoring it, but I guess that's their deal. I mean, that's Disney for you, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I guess I understand it now. It's part of their business model in general, but it just seems like a waste to me. But anyway, Heyman's speech was amazing. It stole the show. I mean, I guess you can't really say it stole the show because everybody knew it was going to be something.
That's why they put him number one.
Right, that's why he was the first one. He was the headliner.
Yeah.
I really liked how he gave his props to Triple H, and saying that, bringing up the whole Triple H era, and we'll get into it later, but Cody did as well. So for this new era of wrestling, which everybody wonders, like you had the Attitude Era, you had the Golden Era, you had the what was it? Ruthless Aggression Era. Everybody's saying pretty much they're hoping they call this the Triple H era, which is, I mean, it should be. It's his. I mean, he's the boss. He's involved. He's the head of all creative. So, and doing a miraculous job.
I never heard his name said so much. His real name said so much ever.
Right.
Like, I even realized, I've been mispronouncing it all these years. I thought it was the best,
using the old wrestling name.
Right.
When he was was it Paul Levesque?
Yeah, no, there was, yeah, well, that's how it's pronounced, is Levesque. Yeah.
Or, what was he in? It was Levesque. I don't remember how it was pronounced.
It was something.
It was.
You know how they always twist it, like Rotundo and Rotunda, stuff like that. But he came out, and for me, ECW is my all-time favorite promotion ever. They came out, and they did exactly what he said they did. They came out at a time when we had, Minotaurs wrestling, Barbarians wrestling, clowns, all this stuff wrestling around. And they came out, and they brought the violence back into wrestling and launched the Attitude Era with ECW. And I loved it. I loved all the violence. I loved the barbed wire matches. I loved Terry Funk. I loved Mankind matches, the Cactus Jack matches. I loved Sabu, all that stuff. Innovator of violence. I loved it. And I loved that when he walked out of the tunnel, like there's Mikey Ripwreck, there's Bubba Ray, there's who was on the other side?
You had Dreamer,
RVD,
Bubba Ray, Devon, Spike.
Yeah, all of them just sitting right there. And
let's call it Al Snow.
And which I had hoped that was what was in the box when he came up. I hope he was going to bring out the head. Like, what does everybody want?
I knew that at least that the hat was going to be in there. So, I was expecting that when he threw on the trench coat and the hat and the headset. I was like, wow, that took me back. That was.
He pulled out the phone. He's like, wow, this is my actual phone.
Yeah.
I broke this over the head.
Broke it over the head of Sting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he gave a very powerful and very emotional speech that had me welling up more than a few times.
Yeah, he of course had a lot to say to his kids, and brought up the passing of his parents, which was, you know,
rough for everybody.
That hits a lot of people, you know.
Right.
And but like like you said, he's not done. So and the guy's a creative genius, and Triple H is a big fan of his, so he may be involved creatively too.
Right. We may see him back in the creative process.
I know he helps a lot backstage, so you never know.
Yeah, he's more than just a wise man for Roman Reigns. He's a wise man for everybody in the backstage area.
And you heard in the interviews so many people saying it. So, but yeah, his was by far the I won't say it was the most emotional, but it was definitely brought up a lot of feelings, stirred up a lot.
Yeah, it got me good.
Yeah. Then we had who was next? It was Bull Nagano was next, right?
Yeah, Bull Nagano came out next, and for those of you who don't know who Bull Nagano is, she's back in the day. It was her and Alundra Blaze running around Japan and America, just tearing it up for women's wrestlers, and she did a lot of good for women's wrestlers. And yeah.
Bull is an icon. Bull, amazing. Her feud with Aja Kong. Man, their cage matches in it was All Japan, I believe, were just the most hard hitting. Like they rivaled men's wrestling in Japan at the time, and they're just brutal and amazing. Along with her and Medusa, Alundra Blaze. I hate calling her Alundra Blaze, but yeah,
apparently she hated calling her Alundra Blaze too.
Well,
she called her Medusa. When
I mean, a lot of people. I mean, she wrestled her for years before they were in the WWE, so she's used to calling her Medusa. Usually, when you meet somebody,
right,
that they stay with that name. So that's all it is.
Her speech got me welled up as well. I mean, it was all fine and dandy. It was very it was emotional to see her try to speak English because she was obviously having a hard time with it.
Right.
But then she came out and said, "Look, if you believe in being reborn, if I'm ever reborn, I want to come back as Bull Nagano because I want to do the same old stuff all over again. I want to live this life all over again because this life was amazing. And thank you for everybody for being a part of it."
Yeah, Bull.
And that's giving me goosebumps right now just talking about it.
Yeah, Bull was awesome. She's an icon, and I really hope for people that are not familiar with her work, look it up. I mean, her WWE stuff, there isn't a whole lot of it. She was there for a while. WCW stuff either. There's not a whole lot of it. It is entertaining. There is good stuff there. But, man, her All Japan stuff, her in Japan was just... Oh, man. And I'm telling you, her and Aja Kong, and Aja's someone that doesn't get... Aja should be in the Hall of Fame, too. Aja Kong is just an icon amongst women wrestlers.
Right.
And there's a lot, and there's a lot of stuff out there. Definitely look her up. She deserves that Hall of Fame. And then the next one was... What was next? It was Rotunda and Wyndham, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the emotions really...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just when Taylor and Micah came out, just to do the introduction, I was already starting to well up.
For those of you again who don't know, Mike Rotunda, Mike, right?
Yeah.
Mike Rotunda is IRS. You may be more familiar with his character there, but he was also the father of Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt's brother came out, Bo Dallas, who you may be more familiar with him. His name is Taylor, and his sister came out to introduce them, the father, into the Hall of Fame and induct him into the Hall of Fame. And we had just caught the Bray Wyatt documentary, which had come out a couple of days before.
Right.
As
and
kind
that is
a prerequisite to this.
I still can't, honestly, that was something we were planning on reviewing. I really just I can't even talk about it still. It still hits very hard.
I'll say this, because it's such a recent event, I think that's what got me the most. I didn't realize how recent it was going to portray everybody, and because of that, it made me realize that the emotions were still fresh within me. So seeing the documentary hurt. Seeing the induction into the Hall of Fame hurt. But seeing Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham both just bring out cell phones and hold up and honor Bray Wyatt with the Fireflies at that moment.
The crazy thing is
amazing.
They were introduced into the Hall of Fame as the U.S. Express, which is kind of weird because The U.S. Express, though they were two-time WWE champions,
and performed at the first WrestleMania.
They didn't have the longest run in the WWE. They're more well known when they split up. You know, Barry Windham is more well known as a horseman. Mike Rotunda is more known as IRS. You know, I mean, Money Inc. did more for him than the U.S. Express did. But I think Triple H just wanted for that nostalgia point to bring up something, and it's something like they wanted to bring the Wyndham family, the Rotunda family, the Wyndham family, that into the Hall of Fame. Maybe they wanted to bring Bray in, but it's a little too soon.
It's a little too soon. Like while he did a great job in his career, it's it just happened, and he needs to age a little bit. The Rotunda name needs to age a little bit before they are able to bring him in, because they still have so many other great talents that they need to bring into the...
I think they could have brought him right in. I just think...
I agree, but I think that's the reasoning behind it.
I think it's more for the family, to let the family settle a bit. I mean, they brought Eddie in the same year he passed.
Oh, there's that.
But, I mean...
But Eddie also left a legacy decades prior, leading up to that point.
That's true, but still, I mean, it's just... I think that's more or less for the family. And, I mean... I don't know. It's weird to me that they didn't induct Rotunda as IRS though. That seems a little odd, and maybe they will. I mean, Barry's a two-time Hall of Famer, so. But I grew up with. I was a huge fan of both. Barry Windham is probably one of my top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. Barry Windham is so underappreciated for the talent that man has.
It's weird seeing him that old.
Yeah. But he was just one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Mike Rotunda, I mean, I was a big fan of his when he was in WCW, when he was part of the Varsity Club. It was him and Rick Steiner, and him and Dr. Death Steve Williams, with Kevin Sullivan managing him. Like, there's a lot. I mean, all these people that were brought in the Hall of Fame, if you're not familiar with them, people should really look up their stuff.
What did the R stand for in Irwin R. Shyster?
You know what? I don't think they ever said.
That's the question for this episode.
It's an interesting question. and then the next inductee was, of course,
it was Leilani Ali or Muhammad
Ali.
Sorry,
which Muhammad. I mean, the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame is weird to me. Muhammad Ali, of course, is the greatest of all time. I mean, Hall of Fame. I mean, there's nothing more to be said about Muhammad Ali. He's pretty much in every Hall of Fame there is. Right. So, and he deserves it. He was also a huge wrestling fan. Someone whose personality was shaped by wrestling. He was a fan of Gorgeous George. He was a fan, So and that's where he got a lot of his bravado from. And so many wrestlers have stolen from Muhammad Ali. So, I mean, there's not much more you can say about how great the man was.
I mean, we all know Muhammad Ali was like the epitome. But I didn't like that segment only because I felt like it was catering toward The Rock a little bit.
And I think that might have been part of what it was, but that belt was awesome.
Yeah, the belt is awesome. But I would have loved if it spun.
I hate spinning.
I just thought it would have been ironic, especially considering what happened at WrestleMania.
Then we had our next inductee, which was Thunderbolt Patterson. Thunderbolt is an icon. I heard so many when they first announced that Thunderbolt was going into the Hall of Fame. I saw online so many people saying, "Oh, he was a jobber. He wasn't that big of a deal." Thunderbolt Patterson was an icon. It is an icon. He was a trailblazer. Thunderbolt was something that, like, I remember seeing Thunderbolt in the old NWA days, and man, like, just his bravado, the way he spoke, it was different. He had this style about him that just was. Thunderbolt was amazing, and is widely underappreciated. Man, there's a lot of people maybe saw him in his older years when he was in WCW that can't appreciate what his work was. But man, especially when it came down to promos, Thunderbolt was just like he would get right to that
magic on the mic.
Man, he would get right to that point where you thought he was gonna cuss, and he would just pull back. And oh man, Thunderbolt was amazing.
You saw a lot of his mannerisms in Dusty Rhodes.
Oh yeah, he's 100%. There was so many people like Thunderbolt that's a guy that really and I hope usually when people get inducted into the Hall of Fame, WWE will start posting a lot of their stuff online or on the
in their library,
on the Peacock in their library. Hopefully they do like a best of Thunderbolt because they own most of his library, or they own a lot of it. So I hope they put a lot of his stuff in there because Thunderbolt he was something special.
He was worth to be inducted. I know a lot of people on my side of the fence was like, who? Thunder who? And even I was a little bit like, I don't know who this guy is. But unlike everybody else, I actually do research and went back and like pulled up some of his old matches and some of his old stuff that he did. Because I wanted to know, if you're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame and I don't know who you are, then I want to know who you are. I want to know the reason. So I watched some of his old matches, and the man had a gift.
Yeah.
You know?
And he was
and if he wasn't even if he wasn't doing that great in the ring as far as wrestling style goes, he still had the flamboyance and the attitude behind him to make you enjoy the match no matter what was going on. He told the story.
Yeah.
In the match, in all his matches, he told the story, and that's what you want in a match is a story and athleticism.
Yeah. Then you had The Rock's grandmother going in, and The Rock's bravado and everything, but with The Rock doing all the stuff, and I mean, the man had to sell WrestleMania, and he was pushing it and doing everything. But what his grandmother did with their wrestling organization, which was an NWA organization, it's pretty hard to find any of the footage from there. But Pacific Coast, I think it was Pacific Coast Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
It was like there was every major star went through there. You had Ric Flair go through there, Dusty Rhodes, Andre the Giant, Afa and Sika were there, Rocky Johnson was there. I've seen a couple of the big shows, and I have some of the footage from back when it used to be on television. And man, for them to run that, for her to run it as a woman in a male-dominated industry, in a male-dominated world at that time, you're talking. What was that, early 80s? Late 70s, early 80s?
Yeah.
For her to and keep that running, it was amazing.
They cover a lot of it in the show, The Young Rock.
Yeah.
That shows the Rock as a kid and all these people. It's funny to see who they get to portray some of these people.
Some of the worst people in the world. the one person they had where they cast right was The Rock, of course. But everybody else is questionable.
I don't know. I kind of enjoy the Andre the Giant guy because I've seen him in a lot of other movies. So.
I mean, who else are you going to get to play Andre? Right. Let's be honest.
But they go over these storylines and stuff in the Young Rock show, which was the only redeeming point of the Young Rock show, was showing all the stuff about him growing up in the Pacific Coast Championship Wrestling, as you said. And that enlightened me as to all that stuff previously. You always hear about the NOI family and their legacy and their lineage and all this stuff. But, when you actually see it happening and you're just like, dude, they're just sitting in the backyard eating? Like, what?
Yeah.
It's that Sons of Anarchy episode we always wanted to see.
Where's the barbecue? Yeah.
Where's the barbecue episode? And that's what it was.
It was a very, very family-based business that was very important. So she definitely deserved to be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
I would say look up as much footage as you can find. I mean, you may be able to YouTube some. That's some really hard footage to come by. I wish there was a library out there. I don't know where the footage went to. Obviously, I mean, I think if The Rock had it, I'm sure he'd be putting it out there. But I don't think they kept it. A lot of back in the day, they used to TV companies they would when they would tape stuff, they would retape over it.
Right. So
a lot of footage is lost,
especially back out there in Hawaii.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of closed circuit broadcasting going on there, so everything was live events and all that stuff going on. So So and fairgrounds, it was happening during carnivals and fairs and stuff.
Well, I mean, they did have a television deal, but I mean, even like the stations would, like I said, they would tape over or throw stuff away. TBS was notorious for throwing stuff away all the time. There's a lot of NWA footage that's just lost.
Thanks, Ted Turner.
Right? That was pre-Turner, actually. Well,
I'm still gonna think
he still owned the organization. He didn't own
him and Jane Fonda.
He owned TBS, but he didn't own the NW. He didn't own WCW at the time. But going forward, there was.
See, this is why we can't keep a normal timed episode.
Yeah, no,
because
we're gonna shoot. We've already surpassed our time. I believe we're pretty close, but it's gonna be another hour-long episode. Let's be real. Moving on, there was also a Ring of Honor show this weekend.
Yes, but yeah. So The Rock capped off the Hall of Fame,
right?
And then we moved on to what did it come on that same day, Friday, or did it come on before?
Supercard with Honor?
Yeah,
I believe it was Friday.
Okay. The cool thing about that I'll give up for all the other shows that were on this weekend was that they scheduled their showings so that it came on after Hall of Fame. It came on after WrestleMania, stuff
came
like
on
that.
Before. Everything usually well after Hall of Fame, but it was after SmackDown, after Hall of Fame. Everything usually comes on before, unless they already have a like Rampage and stuff like that has a usual time slot. But yeah,
well, Rampage and Collision moved to a later slot, so you can watch it afterwards.
Well, those moved because of the March Madness, the Final Four.
Look, man, I'm trying to give them credit. You're trying to take away the credit.
It's freaking it's college basketball, man.
Yeah, no.
And just to throw it out there, I don't care what anybody says. The women's tournament was 10 times better than the men's. Anyway,
14.2 million viewers, which is 14.1 more million viewers than they had before.
Yeah, it was an amazing tournament. I watched the finals yesterday. It was an awesome game. But
anyway, so ROH put on their Supercard of Honor pay-per-view this weekend as well.
Speaking of emotions.
And that card was phenomenal. I don't remember all the matches off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
I don't either. I just honestly want to shoot through just the highlights. Really. I mean, all of the women's matches, though, were amazing. Every single one of them was outstanding. They're really kind of... Ring of Honor actually does a lot more women's matches and a lot more top tier women's matches than AEW does at this time, and I don't know if that's by design or what, but they put on some outstanding, and a lot of it's talent that you see in AEW also.
Yeah, because they're owned by both the same company,
right? But the Billy Starks and
Athena.
No, it was Billy Starks and Queen. I will butcher her
I
name.
keep saying Amidala.
Aminata. For the
Amaretto.
For the women's television title was awesome, really good, a really good match. Billy really sold a neck injury, and then it was done like they told the story in the ring. There's not a lot of storytelling with the way Ring of Honor is because a lot of people don't see it. Some people may watch the pay-per-views but don't have Honor Club. So a lot of it's not like there's not a lot of television time, so you don't really get to the meat of a lot of their storylines. But that match was done amazing. Billy Starks is amazing, especially for being 19 years old.
For such a young kid, she has such an amazing talent in the ring, and she tells a good story in the ring too. She tells it like a veteran, and that's something you don't see every day, especially on such a young performer. Yeah.
So that was an amazing match. Billy Starks pulled it out. Little swerveness, maybe. I mean, she's been hanging around Athena for a while, so maybe picking up some of her cheating ways. I mean, faking an injury is not exactly to me being a bad guy though. So.
No, but she pulled it off pretty good.
Yeah, it was excellent.
Yeah, it was,
and then later on the internet exclusives, there was an interview where she's back there celebrating, and her mom's telling her how disappointed she was for acting like that, and then she runs off with Athena. So, and then there was you have the card down there.
Yeah, then we had the Stardom.
The Stardom match is amazing. Stardom is amazing.
Stardom is a promotion out in Japan that's purely female, so it's all women wrestlers that are trained and it's just a fantastic promotion because these ladies put it on like nobody else can put it on.
Yeah, well, New Japan Pro Wrestling doesn't have a women's division, so they have Stardom.
So what they did is they sent 6 of the ladies over and set up a 3-man match, 3-on-3 match. And to me, it felt like they were putting on a clinic. They came here and they said, "Look, ladies wrestling in America, this is how it's supposed to be done," and they did it, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and there was like, they told a good story. There was great athleticism. They were flying all over the ring. It was just great to see such high quality match put on by these ladies, and it was done in a way where you couldn't tell if it was. Sometimes in matches you'll see a little telegraphing going on, or you'll see a missed cue or something like that. You didn't see that with these ladies. They had it down, and It was phenomenal. And I really appreciated it, and it opened my eyes to a lot of what they do over there. And you get big names coming from there. You got Tony Storm that came from there, Deonna Purrazzo that came from there. Who am I missing?
That has been in Stardom. Oh man, you pretty much, if they're in women's wrestling, they've been there. I mean, Mariah May came from there. Athena wrestled there. Like there's a ton. They pretty
Mariah
much
May even came out after the match and hugged the winners and was like celebrating with them because that's where she recently came from.
And then you had what was the next match we had?
We had Johnny TV and Dalton Castle.
That actually, I'm a huge fan of both those guys. Honestly, I love John Morrison, Johnny TV, Johnny can't get his name right. He was Johnny Bloodsport. Also, we'll talk about the GCW Bloodsport. But
Johnny, I got a TV show.
Yeah. Well, actually, I met him, and when we still had the physical store, I was going to bring him in to do an autograph signing. And when he gave me his contact information, he put it in my phone as Johnny Gimmick name. So nice. I'm a huge fan of his. Dalton Castle, I absolutely love. The dude is such an amazing talent, such a great character.
24/7 performer.
Right, and the guy is a legit wrestler, and it really, like, that match was amazing. When the boys came out and the guy whose name I cannot remember. What is his name? The actor.
I don't remember his name.
The guy from
that one show.
Yeah, he's in Cobra Kai. Paul
Walters something.
Walterhausen or something like that.
Yeah.
Him being there, it was funny. That was a nice little entertaining part at the end. Dalton Castle, though.
Especially considering Sting totally snubbed him.
But Dalton and Johnny put on an amazing show. It was
what awesome. Was really cool about it, so earlier, the day before, AEW, or not the day before, but during the week, AEW had released like 10 wrestlers. 2 of them being the boys, which are Dalton Castle's little minions.
Yeah.
That come out and help him in the match and help him win his match. They were 3-man champions at one point.
Yes.
And 6-man champions at one point. Well, they had been released from the company for no showing at events and other backstage drama. So what Dalton did was he grabbed a bunch of randos from the backstage and made them the boys for the day. Including there was a wrestler that was in there. I can't remember his name.
Chris Black backflip.
Yeah. No, not backflip.
Cartwheel.
Cartwheel's awesome.
Yeah.
All he does is cartwheels, but he does such innovative cartwheels that and he doesn't look like a guy that can pull off a cartwheel. He looks like a guy that spends all day in Muscle Beach, and it was just a fun show. And Dalton puts on a fun show. It was a
fun show, and it had its comedy aspects and everything, but it was a serious, they really, they put it down. They wrestled. So it was an amazing match. Dalton pulling out the victory. I really like Johnny and Tyra together too. So hopefully I get a lot more of I need to see more of Tyra. They're really just, Tyra Valkyrie is an amazing wrestler, and I just need to see her wrestle more.
Next up, we had Kyle Fletcher and Lee Johnson. Tiger Style.
I'm a huge fan of Kyle Fletcher. Lee Johnson is an amazing wrestler. I just need a different gimmick for him. But I mean, hey, the guy's come around. Like, he hasn't been doing it for a whole lot of years. But I mean, he's got all the potential in the world. Both those guys do. So,
and he's with the Shane Taylor Productions right now.
Yeah.
So they're doing pretty good as a group and getting his name out there. But in real life, he married Julia Hart.
Yeah.
So I hate him. He's my nemesis. But they put on a good match.
She's a child.
He's put on a good match.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good wrestler. The Tiger style thing, I just think is weird.
Yeah.
Like, what are you, part of the Wu-Tang Clan? Like,
and he doesn't do the Tiger style in the ring. He pulls it out every now and then.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. But
after that, we had Athena and Hikaru Shida, which we already talked about, right?
Yeah, Athena and Shida is just, both those women are amazing. It was an amazing match.
AEW pulls Shida out whenever they need a really good filler match, because Shida does the job.
I think Shida's also like, I mean, she lives in Japan, so
yeah.
There's only so
much of her they can ask for. But when she comes out, she does the job, and she does the job well. She can take a hit. She can fly all over the ring.
She's one of the most underappreciated women's wrestlers in the business right now.
Absolutely. So. And her and Athena put on just a great match.
Athena is the face of women's wrestling for both AEW and ROH. I don't care. I'm a huge fan of Toni Storm. I love Toni Storm. But Athena is... I'll take Athena over Storm.
Well, Storm is too in character right now as opposed to...
I mean, Athena's very much in character too, and but it's just... Yeah, I think the character that Toni's playing right now is just kind of kills her wrestling a little bit, and she's not as like Toni Storm can go, and she's not as I don't know. It's hard to explain, but yeah,
no, she's buried in her character too much instead of actually wrestling. So I think that's a hindrance to her. But now we got to get into the emotions. Now we got to start singing "Lost in Emotion." Anyway. Eddie Kingston, Mark Briscoe.
That was the final match, though.
That's the end of the card.
Tag team title.
Who was the tag team title?
It was
Undisputed Kingdom in the Infantry.
Yeah, which was it was the Undisputed Kingdom in the Infantry. I like both teams. I love the Undisputed Kingdom. I think they're being they're not used enough. I won't say they're being misused. They're just not used enough. They're more comedy than they are like really hard wrestling. And I think that's a shame. The Infantry is an up-and-coming team. Their character's a little... It needs some tweaking. It needs some tweaking. And we'll leave it at that. I think they're good. I think they're excellent wrestlers. I just think they need a little bit more tweaking done. Maybe a little bit more time. That's all. It's not... I think they're still searching for their identities.
I think the problem is whatever is wrong with the tag team wrestling division in AEW right now, or ROH, which is where they live right now, is showing. And in the past month, the Infantry went from jobbers all the way up into the top spot just to fill this spot in the card for ROH. And then now they just got knocked back down to the bottom because of the pay-per-view. They're just not gelling well enough, and they're too showy and not really wrestly, and they need to find that good balance in between. For me, that's just my opinion.
I just don't understand the fact that why does ROH even have tag team titles? How many tag teams does ROH have?
Right, like two.
I don't understand the 6-man titles. I don't understand tag team titles. Like, they don't have enough wrestlers for that. Honestly, they don't need titles. I mean, it's too much. AEW has too many titles. Ring of Honor doesn't need titles. I would get a women's champion and a heavyweight champion, I guess, but because they're not separate entities. If you made them separate entities, then I get the titles, but they're not.
Right.
Their wrestlers go like so many Ring of Honor. If they're high up on the card in Ring of Honor, they end up going on AEW and jobbing out. I don't get it.
Makes no sense to me. I know it'd be different if they were defending the ROH titles throughout, like Japan or anybody else around the indie circuits, but they're not. They're only defending them on ROH, which is a 1-hour TV show once a week, or a 2-hour TV show once a week. So, and the problem with that is that you're recycling wrestlers, so you're seeing them fight the same.
And it's not even a TV
week.
show; it's an app that a lot of people don't have.
Right. So nobody gets to see any of this stuff. So nobody knows to watch Supercard of Honor or any of this stuff.
Which is sad because Ring of Honor has a ton of really good talent,
amazing talent that they're just going to waste.
Yeah.
That's just it. They're falling by the wayside or dropping like crazy. That's just too bad.
If they use it as more of a developmental company, I would get that. That would make sense. Which the Infantry being there, being a developmental company, I get it. But the Undisputed Kingdom being there is a waste.
Right.
Eddie Kingston being there is a waste. Mark Briscoe being there is a waste. You know, like, but Mark gets wasted on AEW, so it's weird. I'm confused by that. But then we go on to the
Kingston versus
Briscoe. Which, definitely emotional. Literally 11 years to the date when Jay Briscoe beat who was it?
That one guy.
I believe he beat what's it called? Jay Lethal for the ROH title.
Lethal. That's right.
I think it was Lethal. It was.
No, I remember they were talking
his
about
first one. Was his first one Lethal or his second one Lethal?
His first one was Lethal. I don't remember what the second one. But
one was Lethal, one was Steen. So,
and it was also like a 22-day anniversary after the passing of Jay.
Like that.
Something like that. It was real close to his anniversary of the day he passed. So his twin brother Mark, and they were a phenomenal tag team.
They're not twins.
I know.
They did, though, early in their career, they goddamn did look like twins.
But they were a phenomenal tag team.
Amazing. One of the best tag teams of all time.
Best ever. So when he passed away, everybody was wondering what Mark's going to do, whether he's going to try and continue doing a solo career or just fall away. And he decided to step up and be a solo wrestler. And he's been doing a great job, but you never actually got to realize, like, he can go.
Yeah. Well, he's in Ring of Honor. Like there was times where Jay was a heel and Mark was a babyface, and they also did wrestle for each other for the world title when Jay was champion. Mark has shown a lot of promise in the years, and then after Jay passed, and he said he didn't want to do tag team anymore. He wanted to be a singles wrestler, and he got signed to AEW. He's shined. He's done great, but loses. He's constantly losing.
Right.
And
he had a great showing in the Intercontinental tournament.
He lost every match,
but he still did great. He
did amazing. Yeah, he was amazing. But like, that's the thing. When he had that amazing match with Joe for the TV title, which everybody thought it was the right time. He should have won that title, and they would have been able to ride that emotion and turned him into a superstar. And maybe a lot of it is him wanting to spend some time at home, still recovering. Who knows the reasons for it? Maybe his personal reasons. It's none of our business. But
we want to know.
I mean, yeah, there's truth to that. But now he's finding himself. He's finding himself in his wrestling. He's wrestling his own style. Him and Eddie just put on a barn burner of a match. It was hard hitting. It was old school wrestling. I mean, they were cracking the hell out of each other. That it's one of those, you know what? I'm going to apologize to you. Now let's go out there and do it. You know, right. Let's just don't knock each other's teeth out. Everything else is fair
not
game.
Like Mark has a lot of teeth to knock out.
That's true.
But he busted open early, and they spent the entire match bleeding all over the ring.
And it wasn't one of those unnecessary bloody, right. matches. Like it was very.
It wasn't for show. It was part of the story.
Yeah, it made sense.
It worked, and it just showed how hard of a fight he had been putting on this whole time just to become a solo independent wrestler, and that he deserved that title. And he did. He did a great job, and he won the title. And congrats to him.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was an awesome match. The celebration at the end, basically the entire
ROH,
locker
room came out and raised him up.
Yeah, and then him and Eddie had a nice little handshake and hug at the end. It was awesome. It was awesome. I'm really happy.
Code of Honor was recognized.
Yeah, I'm really happy, and I hope they really start pushing Mark, and maybe make that title mean something. Maybe make these titles in Ring of Honor mean something. Like, prove me wrong. Like, I'd like them to mean something, but it seems weird right now. But maybe it's finally finding its footing now.
Maybe.
So.
We'll see. Next up.
Yeah, that's funny because that would have been our time. Well, it looks like we're going to have more than one episode this week.